I'm Dr. Noelle O'Connor, and today we're going to spend a few minutes talking about some summer first aid tips. So, first of all, you've got to have a first aid kit. Doesn't have to be fancy, but it's got to have at least some of the basics, okay? Ours has quite a bit of stuff, but namely you've got to have at least some gauze, maybe a gauze bandage, Band-Aids of course, some antiseptic wipes would be helpful, maybe some antibiotic ointment, cortisone cream, anti-itch related things, and probably a pair of gloves. So beyond that, extra things are always nice, but you could put all of that in a Ziploc bag and keep it under the sink or keep it in your glove box, okay? So it's summer and we're going to be outside, and what kinds of things could happen? So what about maybe some scraped knees or some bleeding? Now most bleeding can be stopped with pressure, okay? Pressure and time. So you get a little cut or something like that, take some gauze, place it on the wound, and just hold it there. Now this could easily take a few minutes, so you've got to be patient, okay? If for some reason it begins to bleed through the gauze, just take some more and place it on top, and again, continue to apply some pressure. After a few minutes, when you're certain it has stopped bleeding, then you can take the gauze off. The American Heart recommends just washing it with soap and water, although again, if you have some antiseptic wipes or something like that, it would be fine. And then once the wound is clean, you can go ahead and put like a little Neosporin on there and then bandage it up, and it should be good. What if you can't stop the bleeding, or you're wondering if you might need stitches? We've all wondered this at some point, and here's a quick tip to be able to tell if you need stitches. Red Cross recommends stitches for any wound that's over an inch long. So to give you an idea, that would be about this long, okay? Any wound where the skin flaps don't line up. So let's say you pulled a flap of skin back. As you place it back, if the edges don't line up, it's recommended that you consider getting some stitches. And then any wound that you think might scar or is in an area that might scar, namely the face. So that's why any cuts or wounds on the face are almost always stitched. Okay? So any wound over an inch long, edges of the skin don't flap together or is on an area that you don't want to scar. Now, any bleeding that you can't stop is considered an emergency, whether it's just a bloody nose or a little cut, or of course any larger wound or something like that where you can't stop the bleeding. What about a bloody nose? Okay, maybe we're playing, or because of allergies you might be a little more prone to some nosebleeds. Pinching the nose shut and tilting the head forward, not back, is how we stop a nosebleed, okay? You got to do it for at least a few minutes, and most of the time you'll be successful. You can take some ice and ice the nose as well, and that should do the trick. Again, any bleeding that doesn't stop is considered life-threatening, okay? So we know how to stop bleeding, we know how to tell if we might need stitches, we know how to stop a nosebleed. What if maybe we get stung by something while we're outside, okay? So maybe we get a bee sting. Now in the old days we used to take a set of tweezers, right, and try and pluck that stinger out. Well, we don't do that anymore. What's recommended now is to take something with a firm surface, like a credit card would be the easiest, but our first aid kit happens to have a tongue depressor, and just scraping that area. That'll lift the stinger up and out, and it's a safer way to remove it. Instead of pinching, you might pinch the venom sac, which causes more irritation, okay? So we get stung by a bee or a wasp or something like that. We take something with a firm edge, we scrape that out, and you'll be able to see if the stinger is gone. At that point, again, we wash with soap and water or some sort of antibacterial wipe, and this time we can put Neosporin if you wanted to, but maybe like an anti-itch cream would be better. So cortisone, Benadryl, something like that would probably do the trick, okay? Keep an eye on it. If the person gets an allergic reaction, of course, that becomes an emergency, okay? Good, so we know how to stop bleeding, how to deal with a sting. What about, lastly would probably be some heat-related emergencies are pretty common in the summer. So easiest thing to do is hydrate, okay? You gotta drink a lot of water. A day like today here is very hot. So you really have to keep hydrated. If you begin to get leg cramps or nausea or dizziness while you're working out in the heat, you've got to hydrate. and kind of take it easy and get out of the sun, okay? If also you suffer some sunburns while you're outside too, same thing, you gotta get out of the sun. Our rule for sunburns is cool and cover. Now our first aid kit actually has some burn gel, which would really soothe the skin as well, but cool running water or like a cool compress, let's say you burned your shoulders or something like that, cool compress, and then just kind of gently cover the area and get out of the sun. Okay, so those are the most common summertime first aid emergencies. Trust me, there's many more. If you're interested in learning more, we offer the American Heart First Aid course, which is really got a lot of helpful information. Shows how to use an EpiPen, in case of severe allergic reactions. Shows how to recognize symptoms of a heart attack, stroke, and all sorts of common emergencies. So you can contact us at info@yourchiropractic.net and for more information about summertime emergencies. Okay, thank you.